Without further ado, I will invite Paul to come and join us. Good evening. So, I know you've been doing lots and lots of publicity and promotion work of late, and this is going to take a slightly different turn because lots and lots of people know Paul or know of his work. But I thought we'd kind of have a bit of a journey back through your life, looking at obviously music, yep, but also literature, books, libraries, how it's all been weaved together. Okay. So I'm going to take you right back. So
you're not going to hypnotise me.
No, that's later. That's later. I think that comes about 10:30 in the market. So mum and dad, well-worn path from Dublin came initially to North Manchester, I believe?
Well, no, sort of central. See, I was born in St Mary's and christened in the Holy Name, so in my view, you can't get more back than me. That's it, that's Bow Bell, the Manchester equivalent of Bow Bell, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, we were in Plymouth Grove when I was born, I think. And then they knocked it down to build a car park, I think, and we ended up moving to the green and pleasant land that is the garden town of Wythenshawe, yes.
Absolutely. And so just give everyone an insight into what your early childhood was like. Was there lots of music, books? What was it like?
Books, I was thinking about this, but the books in our house, the one books I can remember in our house growing up is we had, for some reason, and it doesn't sound like my dad, we had the full set of the Children's Britannica Encyclopedia. Now whether he bought them on the drip and the bloke came knocking on the door every week, I don't know. But that was the internet as far as we were concerned. Any homework I ever did from the age of like 5 to the age of 18 was something in there. And it was like very 1960s, so I don't think it was very PC. There's a big map at the front that everywhere was read. But so that was that was my education, those books.
Okay. And music, was it a very musical household?
It was. We used to have these fantastic parties. My Uncle Gerard, he's here, he used to do the song. But what I do remember is, we used to have these parties in our house and everyone would sing a song. My dad would sing one, my mum would sing one, my Uncle Gerard would sing 7 or 8. And there were all these great songs, all these Irish songs, and there was like, and there were all like Dubliners songs and things, and I thought, what a great musical history. The family's got all these fantastic Dublin folk songs. So then a few years ago, I thought, I must go and have a look, and I bought, start off, I'll get the Dubliners' Greatest Hits. Took it home. They're all mad. It's one album. One song each of this album.
But they do well.
They're doing well, yeah. They're doing backwards, yeah.
So, what was your music awakening then? Was it through that? Was it through?
Well, everything I ever did with music I got from my brother, really, Steve. Not Harry. That would be Dan Fogelberg or Harry Chapin. No, Steve was the one. He was really a boy when he was into Bowie, actually. We always called it Bowie.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if that's a man thing, but everyone in Manchester seems to call him David Bowie and everyone else called him David Bowie. He even got the cheek to call himself David Bowie.
Outrageous. Obviously, I hadn't spent enough time in Manchester.
That's right, yeah. So Steve was into that, and he had really good taste in music, Steve. Him and Mark Riley were like thick as thieves, and so they went to see Bowie in London, and the Hoople, they went to see the Free Trade Hall. They used to go every gig that was going at the Free Trade Hall, some really good, some really bad. Supertramp they went to, which Steve described as the worst gig he'd ever been to. And they ended up at the sort of iconic gig, which was the Sex Pistols at the Lesser Free Trade Hall, with Buzzcock supporting. It's in Steve's book that they actually went to see Slaughter of the Dogs. Watched Slaughter of the Dogs, and Buzzcock came on. Really liked them, and then this horrible bunch of oiks from London came on, the right racket apparently, and so that Steve and Mark went out for a bag of chips while the Sex Pistols were on. They kept that quiet for a number of years, but he did confess at the end that he missed most of the set because they were out having a bag of chips. So then, obviously that gig's sort of very famous in that a lot of the audience went on the phone bands, and then sort of Falls were there, Buzzcocks were there, Morrissey was there, Joy Division, or 2/3 of Joy Division were there. So then Steve ended up roadieing for the Fall, and then one by one Mark joined, and then Steve and Craig joined, who was another mate, and then they got me in. So that's basically, it was all down to Steve really, nothing to do with me.
So, clearly incredibly musical family.
My brother,
yeah,
can't play the radio.
He's singing later, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But I'm also interested in, because obviously later in life you've come and with the writing of the book, and I know literature is a big part in your life. But so in those early days, and it was, I guess that sort of upbringing in Wythenshawe, there wasn't a lot of access. You know, libraries were...
There was, funnily enough, there was a library just near school. It was on the way home from primary school. I went to a school called St Aidan's, and there was Sales Circle Library, which I was a member of very young, and I sort of worked my way through it. Really. It wasn't massive. It wasn't like the Smithsonian. It was only a tiny little soul. Obviously starting off in the children. We all did. We were all members of the library, so I started off in the children's section. So then I'd be into Egypt for a week because I'd have a book out about the pharaohs, and then get a book out about astrology, and you'd be really into the moon this week. And then I sort of kind of worked my way through it, really. So that was my sort of... I mean, as I say, we were all members of the Sales Circle Library.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine for your mum and dad to sort of, you know, the push through education and books and going to the library, was that a big thing for them?
It was. My dad was massively keen on getting us educated. I think his big thing was that he didn't want us labouring like he had to do, you know. But I mean, having said that, what really got me really into reading was when 1972, when Mighty World of Marvel came out, these reprints of American comics came out. And we were all just mad on them, and like 4 brothers, and we still are. Still go and see all the Marvel films together.
Really?
But that was what really perked me up to reading. That was a great thing. I think comics are a great thing, because we did it with our kids. We got them into the Beano.
Because it's often looked down upon somehow, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, it is, yeah. Well, it's kind of less now, because they were really sneered at. But the graphic novels now, aren't they? So the high art, obviously, but I wouldn't have a word against some comics, I wouldn't.
No, I mean, it is a big genre, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, early days in Withenshaw, and then off to St Bede's.
Yes.
I believe, in the days of the 11 plus.
Yes, passed me 11 plus.
Yeah.
I did.
No one more surprised than probably...
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was the clever one. Annie passed his 11 plus, he went to St Bede's. He was the last year that they give you a cap when you started. And then
18, 19...
Yeah, he got it took off in the first day and thrown in the Alexandra Park leg by the tough boys from St George's.
So culturally, you know, again, Withenshaw, St Bede's, you know, how was that? And you know, what was your experience around that?
Well, everybody's got. I mean, I don't wish to know. You could do a misery lit about. I hated St Bede's. I had a good time there. I think he was cleverer than me. And he did a bit of work, but it was one of them. I had a bit of a miserable time at St Bede's, and they didn't go out of the way to make the experience a happy one.
Right.
You know, they wouldn't. It's a typical story. The sports teachers were all bloody sadists. There's 400 priests there. We used to have this priest at our school. He didn't teach. He was too busy being prefect of discipline. So his job was to administer the strap. Not that the other teachers didn't give you the strap as well, but if he really needed the strap, then you went to the expert. I cannot for the life of me remember his name. I think he's probably dead. I hope he's dead now. He used to walk around the playground with these two Dobermans. Could you just call it? He used to walk around the playground with these 2 Dobermans. This guy, big long black robe, walked around the playground with, you know, grimacing at everybody, and he was the guy. It was all psychological. It's terrifying.
Is this one of your nightmares?
It's true. It's completely true.
Wow.
There were other nightmares at St Bede's, but I'm not going to win it then.
That's definitely not going to win it. But in terms then of kind of, did that sort of turn you away from books? Was music a bit of a salvation for you then, or was it just get through?
It was really. It's one of them. I was still massively into reading. English I did well at school. It was about the only subject I did do well at school. I didn't do music at all. I had no music. What put me off music? I said to my dad I want to learn guitar, and we had this old one of Steve's that was at the back of the wardrobe that he got out of the catalogue. It was a terrible guitar, and I said, "But Dad, if I'm going to go and do guitar at school, I'm going to need a case for it." So what they did was they got the box that it had come in and put a string through the album. You can take it in that. So consequently, I never learned guitar. I'm not walking to bleeding school without one.
Molly Range was a very different area.
That's the people who used to be up were called St George's, and that was the school you went to, wasn't it? It wasn't Brendan who picked it up. At least I don't think it was.
No. But just thinking back then, so that's kind of late 70s, early 80s Manchester, very different city.
Yeah,
than it is now, but a burgeoning club scene.
Yes.
And what was your experience of that? Presumably you were partaking in a drink and going to some clubs.
Also, pretty young as well. I mean, I went to see Buzzcocks. I think the first time I saw them was in Alexandra Park, funnily enough. They did this carnival against the Nazis. It was like Rock Against Racism, Anti-Nazi League. And they had this big event on Steel Pulsar on Buzzcocks. It was a fantastic day, really sunny day in the middle of Alexandra Park. Thank God we don't need to have Anti-Nazi League anymore. Thank God they've gone away from it. So I was massive Buzzcocks on, but I went to see the Apollo, obviously. But then, because of Steve, I used to tag along with him. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about Manchester. It was really quite a scary place, Manchester then, but it didn't put me off. I used to go to the factory, the Russell Club in town. I went there a few times, saw Public Image Limited there. I saw John Cooper Clarke there, a few people there, and I must have only been 14. I must have lied about my height or something, but I got in. so at the same time, I was like really scared. What you can tell me, oh, it's a really scary place. Well, did it stop you going anywhere? Well, no, not really. No, I went everywhere.
But very different,
Shoe Hill's incredible change, isn't it?
Well, I think throughout the city centre, I think anyone that was around at that time, but it was, allowed bands to form. I mean, there'd be an argument to say that bands, yourself, when you look at some of the bands that came out with, within short, it was a bit of an escalator form. It did allow them.
I mean, I think there was a kind of strange phenomenon, which was I think one of the unique things about punk and post-punk, that it was really about the only time that proper working class people formed bands, because it's quite an expensive thing now, I think, to be in a band, and it's very difficult to make any money out of it.
Yeah.
And I think you've really lost something whereby now you've got to have some money behind you just to even get to that stage, because everyone's got really decent equipment now as well. That's another thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't complain. I mean, but when I got my first drum kit, it was absolutely falling to pieces, and you used to have to wedge something under it, but it was great for me. And I ended up, it was the one I used when I joined the Fall, and then I made 3 years later they bought me a new one. But I think it was a unique thing that proper working, I think Oasis was kind of the last generation of that.
Yeah.
That enterprise allowance scheme was one that, they used to give you £40 a week to pretend you weren't on the dole.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of bands used that, and that's what Oasis, I did it.
Yeah, well, it was a way of being able to fund it.
It was, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And the scene there, were people well connected? Did you know what other bands were doing? Were you? This is pre you joining the Fall, I guess.
Yeah, there was a bit of a community there, sort of 77 to 79. There was a bit of a community, but then they all started pretending to hate each other for some reason. Maybe that was just Marquis Smith, I'm not sure, but it was a weird thing. The Fall, when I was in the Fall, we prided ourselves in some ways of trying to keep all at arm's length, which was stupid, really, because it was like this thing that it would be cool to go over and say, God, I'm ripped to, you'd be in the club and there'd be Steve Morris out of George, and it would be a really uncool thing for me to go over and say, God, I think your album's the best thing I've ever heard. He'd be like, oh, I'm the band, I'll sit there. And it was a real thing with the Fall. We never did it. It never made a point of what a privileged position you were in. It was a shame, really, in some ways.
I mean, and I've heard lots of stories about that. I think one of the stories that kind of surprised me the most was, I think just after leaving, I assume you just finished your A-levels, and at 18, and only a couple of weeks later, you were on tour in Australia.
Yeah, we did. I'm not sure.
What were your mum and dad thinking about? You went off and did a transit van.
It wasn't like now. It was like, I'll try and give you a ring while I'm there. We're going for like 6 weeks. I'll try and give you a ring at some point. Seriously, that was it. Once or twice, I think I rang. I don't know. I thought about that. If Adam was in a band now, Adam's 22.
Well, now it's 21st last week.
Oh yeah.
He was 22. He's aging quickly.
If Nathan came to me and said, I'm going to be in a professional band with Adam now, is that okay? And there is no way on earth.
I'm off to Australia.
And I'm off to Australia with Marquis Smith. Yeah, no. So I mean, God bless them for doing it. And I was all right, I behaved myself by and large. But yeah, Australia was like the biggest tour we did. It was like, because you're not going over there for 5 minutes, eh? So we did Australia and then New Zealand and then back. But that was quite an interesting time. I think the relationships were fairly well frayed by the end of that, I think.
I think if there was ever a byline for the Fall, it was relationships were fairly well frayed.
Yeah, I mean, they were never great. By the end of that, it's one of those things when you do a long tour, the way you play goes like that, and the way you get on with it goes like that, invariably, but everyone was ready to kill each other.
Do you need that? Does that help, or is that just...
No, I don't think it does. I think it's really, really counterproductive, to be honest, but it was a weird thing, because the way it worked when I was in the Fall, there was like 2 camps, really. So there was me, Steve, my brother, Mark Riley, and Craig, the guitar, because Craig and Mark went to school together, so we were like thick as thieves. And I think it drove Marquis Smith bananas, I think, the fact that we were like, because we were like 4-headed monster or wandering around together. So he got a guy called Carl Burns in to play second drums, and he was like sort of double agent, if you will. So he was sometimes on Mark and KK was the manager, and Mark's partner. So Carl was sort of sometimes with us, and when he got on ours, he went back to Mark, and when he got on Mark's with, he sent him back to us. But I think it really drove him crackers in the end, and he ended up sacking Mark Riley at the end of the Australian tour, like a week before Christmas. We just got back, and full enough, we were playing the Free Trade Hall. That was his last gig, the last Free Trade Hall. And Marky Smith always says he sacked him on the day of his wedding, which isn't true. He rang him up, and he rang Steve up on the day, and we were all at Steve's wedding. We were all back at Steve's like, is Mark Riley there? And he didn't get him, but he did sack him close to his wedding day. It was actually Steve's wedding day. But so then that was his way of, because he had this thing, Mark, where, and it's a very clever scheme really, if you never get too big, then you're never on your way down really. So he's kept it at this level, and he's done it fantastically. We're still there now, you know. We're into what the 40th year or something. So by never making it massive, you're always doing okay, I think. It's very clever. It's harder to do than it sounds.
Yeah. I guess actually we should just maybe take a moment. I mean, lots of rumours about Mark and his health at the moment. I don't know if you...
I don't know, and I've been asked lots and lots of times for my opinion on it, and what do I think, and do I think he should be playing? And it's really, without being funny, it's not really any of my business, you know. I'm sure that his doctor isn't saying to him, what you want to do now is you want to get in that wheelchair, get on stage and do a gig. I'm sure that's not the case, but he does, you know, he knows his own mind and he knows what he wants to do. But I have no insider knowledge at all of what his position is.
Just thinking about some other elements of that. Highlights of time in the fall?
There's a couple of gigs. We did a gig in Brockbell Park, which is like an outdoor gig with the Dam. That was like the biggest gig I ever did with the Fall. It was like 60,000 people. That was a bit of a moment. That was pretty good. Except the only problem with that was...
Slightly less, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 1 or 2 less, but a lot friendlier. Because the problem we had with that gig, we went on straight after New Model Army. I don't know if you're aware of them, but they've got fairly fanatical fans, all armed with empty beer cans. And apparently, I didn't know this, but if you stand on a can, it makes a really good throwing star for the band who are on after your favourite band, who just, because it was, you know, these festival things are always timed to the minute. So they pull the power on New Model Army, we shuffled on it. And they hurt then if they get you. Luckily I could move my cymbals in the way, so I was alright. But that's all I can remember of that gig. This is the highlight, by the way. This is the highlight. Just sitting there being these Death Stars flying at me. But, and the other one we did some gigs. We did a gig with the birthday party. That was pretty good. And the other, one of my main highlight gigs was the final gig, the last gig I ever did with the Fall. I'd actually left, and they sacked Carl, got me back in. And the last gig I did was at the Royal Court in Liverpool. It was a fundraiser for the Greater Liverpool Council, you know, Derek Hatton,
yeah.
God bless him. And it was from Manchester with Love, it was called, so it was New Order, the Fall and the Smiths on the same bill.
Wow. We'll put that back on now, you'd make it.
Yeah, you would, yeah. New Order had to go on first, because they had that much equipment, you couldn't move it on and move it off again. Because if they'd have been headlining, there wasn't room for the Smiths or us to play, so they had to go on first. So we were in the middle, and then the Smiths were on afterwards, and the Smiths were really at the height then. They were fantastic. Because when that's another thing I was saying about you not acknowledging it. When the Smiths started, we weren't allowed to like the Smiths. They were, because we were on Rough Trade, and then the Smiths came along, and everyone in Rough Trade said, "Yeah, you're great, you're great." Oh, it's the Smiths, you know. They kind of, yes, Morrissey, what would you like? You know, and we were looking for poor relations then, so we got off on a bit of a bad start with the Smiths. But obviously, once I listened to them, unbiased, they're just the best band in the world, aren't they? Apart maybe from Joy Division and New Order, so that was why that was the highlight.
And I think one of the gigs that you, I suppose maybe you regret, the gig you almost played was, I think, the Story of the Clash in New York.
I was there, yes. Not that I'm very interested about this. When I joined the Fall, I was 16, and they toured America the next year, and Mark said, "There's no way we can have a 17-year-old drummer in these clubs. They're all over 21." And there's no way you could do it. Now, I'm not sure if that was legally the case or whether he just thought I probably wouldn't hack a 6-week tour of America or whatever, 5-week tour of America. So they got Carl back in. Now, he was probably right, to be honest. I probably wouldn't have hacked it. It would have been quite difficult. But I had to give it a go. But they played Bonds in New York. The Clash, there's a very famous set of gigs the Clash did where they were booked in to play 4 nights at this ex-casino called Bonds it's just off Times Square. And after the first night, the fire brigade came in and said, "You've sold like double the tickets or more than double the tickets for these gigs that the fire regulations will allow. There's no way you can have, you've sold, you know, like 3 times the capacity with these 4 gigs. So they ended up doing like 2 weeks gigs every night. So they had every band in the world supporting them. So Grandmaster Flash supported them, Specials came over and supported them, and then they got The Fall on one night, and The Fall supported them at Bonds in New York. So I kind of regret missing that, really. That would have been pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I can imagine. The Fall have they have an incredible following. And it's interesting what you're saying about Mark's kind of view of let's not get too big.
Yeah.
But there must have been times, there must have been where there was, you know, you could have taken it a different way.
Speaking of regrets, yeah, they got pretty big just after I left. Coincidentally, it wasn't, hey, he's gone, let's go. So they went, that's what the glory days, it was what Mark used to refer to them. Hey, the glory days are over, mate, now we're back in a transit van. But just after I left, we signed to Beggars Banquet when I was in the band. And we had a couple of sort of just outside the charts, you know, with the big midweek, which is what Steve's book's called. So, which refers to, they used to do a midweek chart just for sort of information. So, it'd come out on a Tuesday and it'd be like, whoa, hey, we're 33, get your new shirts on, lads, and then it'd get to the end of the week. And oh, sorry, mate, put them back, we've got half still away. So, there was a big midweek the Fall. So, the reason being that anybody who knew what they were doing, the thing with the Fall was they put the record out and all the Fall fans would go out on the first day and say, quick, it's out, get it on. So you'd get these big sales on the first day. Next day everybody got it then. So they were big, so they never really, but they got a lot bigger than when I was in them. So they had like a couple of hits, Ghost in My House and things. So I probably left a little bit too early, if it's not a massive regret, because it worked out all right. So
yeah, and just I suppose moving on to that, you know, and the changes that have taken place in the music industry. So how does comparing with Bricks at the moment? There you were, you know, at the Apollo Saturday night.
Yeah, we supported the Charlottes. It's great actually. It's because the reason I really like it now is because I'm not pushing towards something. You know, there's no frustration involved. It's not like I'm hustling. We did the gig for Steve's book launch, and then we got Bricks in, and people came and offered us gigs, which is great. There was none of this, oh, give us a gig, ring them, oh, go on mate, give us a support or anything like that. People came to us and offered us gigs. And then we got a record deal, which is pretty unheard of these days. Someone came and said, here's some proper money, go and get a proper producer in a proper studio and make a proper album, which was great, you know. And whatever happens is fine with me, so it's really nice in a lot of ways, because all I do is just turn up and play the drums. I've got no agenda at all. If it ends tomorrow, I've got no regrets about it. So it's really enjoyable thing to do now, I think.
And like many industries, and maybe one of the biggest changes, the music industry's changed completely, hasn't it? In terms of how you record, how you play, why you play.
Yeah.
You know, if you were that 16-year-old drummer now, what would you do? Would you do it again? Would you?
Yeah, I would say, I've got 2 pieces of advice for anybody 16-year-old. One would be, don't expect to make any money. And then you'll really enjoy it. And the other big piece of advice I give to anyone, don't ask 53-year-old blokes for advice, because they haven't got a clue. I haven't. Excuse me. I have no idea. I think the music industry is in great shape, and if someone can work out how to monetize it, there'll be a way.
Because it is hard. I mean, you know, there's lots of bands that you hear, you know, who seem to be doing all the right things, getting loads of exposure, you know, absolutely out there playing night after night after night,
yeah.
But still don't seem to be able to make a living out of it.
No, I don't think. I think it's.
Do you think those days are gone? Do you think it was a...
I think the days of making a living out of it aren't gone. I think they're a lot rarer than they were. But I think the days of... I was in a band between, you know, the age of 18 and 30, and I've made enough money now to not go out and work every day. I think that's gone. I think you might be able to make enough money to be in a band, but it's enough money to keep you in a band.
Yes.
There is no... You're not laying down a pension pot, I don't think. I think those days are over. That's what Mick Jagger said. There was a glorious time between like 1930 and 2000 maybe, where you could make a lot of money being in a band. And luckily enough, his whole career coincided with it. Because before recording, you did gigs, you got paid. And now you do gigs, you get paid. There's not a lot of money in recording anymore. It amazes me the way it's turned out. You got a whole generation. I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying that they're wrong and I'm right. You've got people who are prepared to pay £4 for a cup of coffee and won't pay for a single, which is bonkers from my thank you very much. God bless you. but it's bonkers from my point of view, but it's just the way you might. There's no point in complaining about it, but it's a weird thing, I think.
It is. It's almost that, you know, people have got access to music.
Yeah.
More music they can ever consume.
I have a real problem with that, and again, that's a generational thing. Is I have Spotify, and it's for me, it's a way to listen to the first 10 seconds of 35 songs. You know. Whereas if you put an album on, I know it's ridiculous, but you listen to it and you get something out of it, I think. But that's just because I'm an old fart, basically, and I realise that, and I don't think I'm right.
But the sequence, there was a lot of effort put into the sequence.
There was a lot, yeah. I mean, it was a bit of an art. I mean, it's coming back. Vinyl's made a bit of a... I think it's come back in a way, but that's another weird one, that it's not the way you listen to... You buy albums, but they're like a sort of memento of this music that's in the ether. It's changed beyond all recognition in like 10 years.
Yeah, and it must be a struggle for that 16-year-old who's starting out today, who wants, like you say, to make a living out of it.
I think it's a real shame, because I think it's become a middle-class pursuit, I think, because you've got wealthy, well, you know, relatively wealthy, but not completely, I know it's a sweeping generalisation, but I think you've got a fairly wealthy family who'll buy you a guitar, and I'm as guilty as anybody, I'm not saying I'm not, so, excuse me, so they're the people who are making music now.
Yeah.
Are people whose mum and dad have bought them a guitar for Christmas, or, you know, and they've got good equipment, and then everything's expensive now to be in a band, everything is expensive. And I don't think there's opportunity, and if you just look at the charts, they're all, you know, they're all stage school mullahs, and, you know, singing and all dancing perfect teeth, pretending to have Cockney accents, just like the good self.
Well, come on to talk about the booking, because actually the access to recording facilities was, is a big thing. But and I don't know, I don't know this, but I'm kind of trying to work out what. For those who don't know, Paul is studying, almost finished a degree.
I'm on my last module now of the English Lit.
Last module.
Yeah.
So what came first? Was that, and what was that inspiration? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Different question.
It's difficult. So what was the inspiration, and what, you know, the motivation at, you know, for you to go and start?
Well, funnily enough, when I left school at 16 to join the 4, Mark E. Smith and Kay Cowan insisted that I go back to college to do the English A-level. He said, there's no way you're leaving school at 16 and that's it, and just be one of those people who's only ever been in bands, which was a marvellous thing when you think about it. And I've always been grateful to it, and I always flag it up as something I was really grateful. So I've always been really, really interested in English literature. The inspiration for doing the degree actually came from my wife. She went back and did PGCE after the kids got to a certain age. She sort of said, well, I'm going to go back, and she was really a lot of work with 3 little kids, or lots of evenings and trips up to the Lake District where she was at college and things. And I was really inspired. I thought it was a fantastic thing to do, and I thought, well, I should do it as well, actually. You know, do a bit more time on my hands. So, and it's been an absolute joy, the English degree. So I've really enjoyed every minute of it. Bits of it I enjoyed that I didn't think I would, and bits of it I thought I'd enjoy, I didn't. I thought the poetry bit, I've decided I don't like poetry. It's too hard. It's very hard. Have you ever studied poetry? Very difficult.
And the bits you enjoyed?
The bits I enjoyed, we've done a lot of stuff about the theatre, actually, and the history of the theatre, right, and the French Restoration comedy, which I never thought. You'd have said to me, you'll really enjoy the bit about French Restoration comedy, and I did. It's great, really, really good. Molière and things, it's really good.
So, and did that lead to the book, or did you?
It did sort of. What happened was, one of the things we did was this thing where they had to write an article, a sort of reportage, and I'd go to America a bit with work, and I was stuck in America one weekend, and the Who played in Detroit at this the Red Wings Stadium. So I wrote a review, but I kind of tried to make it a bit about going to Detroit and a Mancunian in Detroit, and about the gig. And I was really pleased with the article that I wrote, and so I gave it to John Robb, who's got this online magazine called Louder Than War, and he said, yeah, we'll publish that. And then Ian and Isabel from Steve's publisher read it and said, would you be interested in writing a book? So I got my pad out. It's funny you should mention that. 34 different ideas here. So no, I had an idea. I wanted to write about Manchester Studios, and that was basically how it was. It's quite organic, really, the way it worked.
Just in case there is someone in the room that's stumbled in here and not heard of the book, do you want to just give a very brief overview? And what I'm interested in, when you do the research for the book, there must have been a lot that you knew already and just been confirmed, but was there any elements in there that surprised you?
It was.
Just a synopsis of the book?
Yeah, well, when I first wrote, I wanted to write about Manchester recording studios, but what surprised me was that it's an action, if you pick the bits I've picked, you can actually tell a story with a beginning, a middle and end. So you had people in the 60s, basically Graham Goldman and Eric Stewart, who were half of 10cc, and Keith Hopwood and Derek Lackaby, who are the guitarists in Herman's Hermits. And when they got to like 90s, because there was a bit of a problem in 1968, you know, a lot of the bands stopped playing, and a lot of the kind of bottom went out of that English invasion. So a lot of them turned to cabaret, you know, Freddie and the Dreamers, Wayne Fontana, Peter Noon, sort of turned to cabaret then to make a living. Where there's those guys, they didn't really want to do that. So what they did was they started studios. And what amazed me was, when I started researching, was there wasn't any. When Eric Stewart started Strawberry Studios, there was no studios anywhere in the country that weren't in London. Everything was recorded in London. And you know, when he went to the bank and said, I want to record a studio, he might as well have been saying, I want to build a spaceship, you know. What do you mean? They were all in London, which I never realised that. No. Nothing, you know, Ferry Cross the Mersey, recorded in London, Penny Lane, recorded in London, they're all in London. So, and he did it, and what was important about it is they were proper studios. They weren't demo studios, there was loads of them. Everyone would get 3 pence and buy a tape recorder and stick some egg boxes on the wall. But they built these 2 studios, and the amazing thing is that, and probably unique to Manchester, I think. So you get the iconic artists of Manchester, the late 70s, all recorded in Manchester. And it doesn't happen anywhere else. You don't get the iconic Scottish band recording in Scotland. Well, obviously it happens in London, but Joy Division, the Smiths, the Fall, Buzzcocks, all recorded in Manchester, which I think is a great thing, and it's a real gift to the city, I think.
Yeah, and one of the things that comes through in the book is that, you know, recording in Manchester, that influences it, you know?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I can't remember, there's a phrase in there, psychogeography or whatever it is, someone will correct me what it is, but there is something in it. I mean, it was an idea that I had to say, is there something, you know, because Tony Wilson always says it's really important, and then you look into it and it is, and it makes a difference, I think. I think those records, like the first Joy Division album particularly, I think it sounds like it's recorded in Manchester.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think there's something in it, which was quite gratifying really, because I sort of had this theory, and I wrote the book and it turned out to be true. Which
it would have been
I would have had to lie.
A shorter book,
yeah.
if that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
I think one of the bits that surprised me about the book is the Matchstore Men.
Yeah.
And again, do you want to just explain that to...
Well, that was done at Pluto, which was the studio started by 2 of Herman's Hermits. And it was, when they did it, it was upstairs from Strawberry, they were both in Stockport. And the guy out of Brian and Michael, well, they were Burke and Jerk at first. They were this like comedy folk duo. And they did this terrible record called Stretford Enders. Stretford Enders, it's terrible. And it's like, the verses are great because they're all like, what a laugh we had when we beat all them scousers on the train. Do you remember when we ripped all the seats out? Youthful hijinks when we ripped 7 Shades out of these Liverpool fans. And it got banned completely, like, what a surprise. So then he wrote this song, Matchstore Men and Matchstore Cats, which sold shitloads. And what's surprising about it is how much of a lot of people found out about Lowry from that record, which is ridiculous.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, you know, when that record came out, I kind of thought it was a bit of a parody on Northern Life.
Yeah.
But actually,
no, it's not at all. I mean, it's a bit mawkish and it's a bit sentimentalised, because that's the big thing about Lowry, is he had no time for sentiment in paintings at all. If you look at some of his paintings, you know, like there's one, Ancoats Outpatient Hospital, and there's a picture of the waiting room, and there's nothing sentimental about that. And there's one called The Cripples as well, and there's definitely nothing sentimental about that. And he hated it, sentiment, and it is a bit sentimental, but it's a real thing, you know. The paintings spoke to him and he wrote about it, and that was, I never really liked Lowry's paintings actually till I started researching it, and I've really got to know him now,
yeah.
Which is mad as well, but because they're like, it's probably the record's fault, they're kind of ubiquitous, aren't they? You see them so often you don't look at them. And I always thought, you know, they were they were put, but they're actually brilliant, you know. I mean, I've really got into, so I'll have to thank Brian and Michael for that. Well, I already have thanked them.
But and I think one of the other things, and you know, I'd probably be guilty of this, is that I think there was an underappreciation of the music scene in Manchester in the 60s. I think, you know, there was about 40,000 people at that gig at Lesser Free Trade Hall. You know,
yeah.
Everyone was there.
Well, that was the thing that really annoyed me, and that was one of the things I wanted to do in the book. That not all, I got in trouble for saying all, because I got interviewed by a guy called C.P. Lee, and I said, all the books about Manchester music started at that Sex Pistols gig, but mine didn't. So I got in trouble with that. So most of the books about Manchester music started at that Sex Pistols gigs, but there's this massive scene that started in the 60s. It's like I said, you got the Hollies, and Wayne Fontana, the Mindbenders, Freddie and the Dreamers as well. And Graham Gulman wrote a lot of the songs for all those bands, and he wrote some absolutely fantastic songs. One of the chapters in the book is he wrote these 4 songs that came out pretty much one after the other, but because it was 2 different bands, people don't know. So you've got Bus Stop, you've got Listen People, you've got No Milk Today, and they're just brilliant pictures of Manchester life. And I think if they'd have been done in succession with the songwriter in the band by the same band, they'd be as big as the Beatles as far as I'm concerned. And a lot of people a lot of Scousers have disagreed with me. A lot of Scousers have disagreed with me, but I think it's a shame really, and I don't think that story is well enough known, I don't think. I think he sort of soundtracked Manchester 60s, I think, Graham Gulman. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's short of the rent, but I don't think he's celebrated as much as he should be. No. Because not only that, they then went on to build Strawberry as well and gave it all to another generation.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to understand what their motivation for that was. Was it just that they, you know, frankly fed up of going down to...
I think there was a big part of that, because it was impossible to be in a band from Manchester and do anything
other than move.
Other than go to London. All the record companies were in London, and if you were trying to look for songs, all the songwriting publishing houses were all in London, because that's what he used to do. So you'd have Graham Gulman getting on the train out of London with his songs, trying to flog them to all these publishers, and then 2 carriages down, you have the 2 guys from the Hollies going down to London and get songs, you know. If they'd have met in the toilets on the way down, they'd have saved themselves a jury, but...
That's a different story, though.
That's a different... Actually, there is, they did. He played them... what's... Oh God, my mind's gone blank. He played them the song, the Hollies. Graham Gulman wrote the song, and... Bus Stop, thank you. He wrote them especially for them, and he played it in his band supported them at some hall somewhere, and he said the only quiet place he could take to show them the song was take them in the toilets. Good acoustics apparently. So he played them the song in the toilet. So if they'd have done that on the train, they could have saved themselves a lot of time.
Incredible. So it is, if those who haven't had a chance to read it, please do. It's a fantastic book, and it's been really, really well received, and lots of incredible feedback. So the start of many?
Oh yes, definitely.
Have you got another idea in that back pocket?
I have got another idea in that back pocket, yeah. I don't know if it's a broader appeal or more niche, but I wanted to write a book about Wythenshawe actually. I'm not sure how to do it yet, because I've been researching Wythenshawe, and it's similar in a way. It's dead young, Wythenshawe. It's only like 1930s.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the Tattans back garden, wasn't it, for a long time? The Tattan family. But it's only like the 1930s, so you've got these like people, everyone who lives in Wythenshawe moved in. It hasn't got like, you know, my family's lived here for generations. Everybody's moved, a lot of Irish, obviously, and there's some decent stories in there. Harry H. Corbett is from Wythenshawe. I didn't know that. You know, Steptoe, the son.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's from Wythenshawe. I've researched him. I found a really good fact out today. He was a massive Labour supporter, and he did part of the local broadcast for him. And Harold Wilson wanted to give him the OBE. But when he sent the letter off, he missed the H out, so the guy in Sutty got it. They didn't have the nerve to take something out, so he never got his OBE. He never got it.
Well, there's a lesson.
Yeah.
I mean, straight away I'm thinking that there must be such rich material.
There is one. You've got Caroline Aherne, I think really needs the story told, I think.
Because Wythenshawe, you know, and I'm kind of more from the city centre, you know, it still has a feel of a kind of city within the city, or a town within the city.
Yeah, it was massively underfunded here because it wasn't in a city, you know. It wasn't classified as in a city.
And trees.
But the thing about Wythenshawe is it's beautiful, it's all grass. It's all trees and parks, and then, yes, 1 or 2 rough elements. I'm not, but I think it's a really interesting place, I think. So Caroline Aherne, obviously the genius that is Marcus Rashford.
Absolutely.
Of course, more than more.
Thank you very much. The box and it's all from...
No, it's Tyson Fury, yeah, we've kind of moved on. Yeah. Okay. He's let himself down, hasn't he? I wouldn't tell him if he came in.
So, here we are, sat in Central Library, and I know the family use it a lot, but what's your memories of Central Library? And the place of libraries in this, you know, we go back, as you said, like many people, you know, that book of 10 or 12 Britannia encyclopedias, that was it.
That was it, yeah.
And here we are in you know, a fantastic facility.
Yeah, well, I used to come in, when I used to work in town, I used to work in Parsonage Garden, which is just up behind Kendall's there. And yeah, I did it for the dry run of the bomb in 1992, they put a little one outside our building. But so I used to come in the Central Library then, and I used to sit, funnily enough, I used to sit and read the graphic novels in there on my lunchtime. So I used to do Waterstones one lunchtime, go in there and not buy a book and read them, and come in here and get a book. My big thing with libraries, I've always been a massive fan of, my kids were members of the library right from birth, you know, and I think it's a fantastic thing, and I think that what's happened here in this building is brilliant, I think, and as, in terms of the future of libraries, I think it's absolutely awe-inspiring, to be honest.
I think they have a unique place in society.
Well, it's that sort of third place, you know, where it's not your work and it's not your home. And I think it's a fantastic thing, and I think this whole idea that it's part of the big society and it's volunteers, it's terrible. You need expertise in libraries, I think, because not everybody's got access to the things that, what a great place you can come in and do your CV for your job or look up things. There's a massive opportunity, I think, for libraries. I think there's a real place for them. And for them to be underfunded is well, I could go on about things that are underfunded that shouldn't be underfunded, but we'll be here all night. I think.
We do close at 8.
Yeah.
So, it's been incredible. I'm going to open the floor up to see if there's any questions that anyone's had, that anyone's got for Paul. Any questions?
So it's embarrassing this bit.
I was going to say. I didn't do any
because we did such a good job. There's no questions left to ask.
Any questions? Okay.
Why is Harry getting such a hard time?
Say again?
Why is Harry getting such a hard time from it?
Well, he's my straight man, obviously. He doesn't get a hard time. He gets less of a hard time than I get off him.
Who's your favourite drummer?
In the fall.
Carl Burns is the best drummer of all. Favourite drummer in the world's got a bit of a cliche, Ringo, I think. He's just... And he gets such a bad... I know he's a bit of a... But they're all Tories, aren't they, at the end of the day. But he gets such a lot of stick, and he's so good and so inventive and clever and appropriate, and he doesn't show off. Because if you're going to... One of the drummers I really don't like, Keith Moon, and I know it's a bit sacrilegious, but it's all about... I hate drummers where it's all about look at me, you know, and that's all he is, really. And if you read there's a great book about him called Dear Boy, by Tony Fletcher. And he's a bit of an arsehole as well, to be honest, but he is, his drumming is all like, whereas Ringo, perfect. I could give you 2 hours on Ringo if you need. Ringo star. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
You're still living with him, surely?
Hey?
You're still living with
Not quite. I've got over the border, I'm in Timperley now, so not too far, I'm still within walking distance. My mum was still in Winshaw till she passed away, no rest her soul. But it was about, I've only about moved 3 miles, so I don't feel I'm too much of a class traitor.
One final one for me, best drummer, best gig you've ever been to?
The best gig I ever went to was the Stray Cats at the International 2. I think.
Anyone has ever been to International 2?
What a great venue that was. It's one of them, when the sweat drips off the walls and the balcony was...
That balcony?
It was a death trap, yeah. They closed it down about 6 months later, but that was such a good gig, and it was absolutely rammed to the gills, and they were... And he's a great drummer as well, Slim Jim. What a drummer he is. He doesn't even use his feet, stands up. But Brian Setzer, who's the singer and guitarist, he's absolutely... that was it. I could wax lyrical about it. It was just such a fantastic gig. I've got a fantastic memory of it,
So, the gig that you'd love to go to, who's the band that you've not seen, or artist that you've not seen that you'd love to go to?
The Clash, I'm afraid.
Ooh.
Never saw The Clash.
It was close.
That was close. I had a ticket to see The Clash when they played on the Rock the Casbah tour. And My friend, he got 2 tickets, my mate Ray, and at the last minute, he gave it his girlfriend instead of me. Not that I'm a bit interested. But in hindsight, I'm glad because...
Are they still together?
No. I'm glad because they sacked Topper, the class, just before the tour, who was another one of my favourite drummers in the old Topper Hagen. I mean, he had a lot of problems with heroin addicts and things, but he was just a fantastic drummer. So they sacked him and they got Terry Chimes back in, he's a bit ploddy for me, Terry. So I was glad I didn't see them without Topper. So all works out in the end.
Great. Thanks so much for that. Just one final thing, just as we kind of wrap up. One of the things that the Trust is keen to do is, as I said right at the top of the event, is to raise funds. And one new scheme that we've got that we'll be launching in the new year is Back a Book. And that's an opportunity.
Stop. Wallpaper, is it? Back a book. Not that, I'm not doing that.
Just rewind. And this is a scheme which will allow. This is a scheme which will allow you as an individual or as an organisation to sponsor a cover of a book, and that will give you the opportunity to display that either in your home, in your office, or in reception, and for £300 for 3 years you will get a book cover in a beautiful plaque.
Wow.
And to show our appreciation for all your time tonight, Paul, I'd like you to accept this on behalf of the trustees. And perhaps, thank you. We have put a bit of effort in planning into this.
Yeah,
so it's not a random book. It's
no,
one
at all.
you chose. So do you want to just give us a little bit more? Do you want to introduce what the book is?
I did, yeah. This is 1985 by the late great Anthony Burgess. It's a strange book in a lot of ways. It's 2 halves. I wanted to pick a Manchester author, obviously, and I'm a big fan of Anthony Burgess. In a lot of ways, he reminds me of Marquis Smith. He's that sort of curmudgeonly, sort of awkward sodder. You never really know what his beliefs are. You know, it's like sometimes you think he's a complete socialist, sometimes you think he's a complete Tory, and he wouldn't thank you to be described as either, I think. So there's a lot of similarities there. And the reason I picked it is, excuse me, I got it from Sale Circle Library when just after it came out, and it was recommended to me by the librarian because I'd had 1984 out and I'd had A Clockwork Orange out, and she said, well, if you've had both of them, you've got to get this, because what it is, the first half of the book is his sort of critical review of 1984, and that is brilliant, and he really sort of nails it. And some of the stuff he writes about doublethink, my God, he could be writing about Donald Trump, to be honest. It's just incredible the way that because he sort of says that a lot of people thought that this was Orwell's idea and it was stupid, that nobody actually really thinks like that, and he makes this brilliant case that all politicians can hold 2 completely opposing ideas at the same time and believe in both of them. And the first thing I thought was Boris Johnson sitting there with why we should stay in and why we should go out on the list, which one should I put in the paper tomorrow, and getting up the next day and actually trying to sell that like and I think he did believe it, and he would have believed the other. Theresa May campaigned to stay in and then came out and said it's a fantastic opportunity. Well, why is it? It can't be both, and it can't be, and I think he sort of nails that completely, that successful politicians have to be able to do that. Good and bad, don't get me wrong, and it hadn't never really occurred to me, that. And then the second is his attempt to write a sort of dystopian novel. And so again, that's kind of dated now, because it kind of shows off all these fears of trade unions.
It does it.
Because it's about 1985, and the unions are sort of taking over the country, so everyone's on strike all the time, and miners are on strike watching buildings burn down with people, which obviously never happened. And then he wrote it in like I think it was 1978. I think he wrote it. So it was just when the winter of discontent and all that, and when people thought the unions were going, how wrong they were. And then, but what's really interesting is this guy, this Bev, who's the hero of the book, he basically goes to work on a strike day, because there's strike days every 5 minutes, general strikes, and he goes to work and then basically gets made a non-citizen then, because he can't work, because he's crossed the picket line, that's it, he can't work. So he joins this society, and I think they're called It's something like Britain First or something really. And he joins a site that they're going to put British values back to her and get rid of all these unions. And it turns out to be a front for this fundamental Islamic movement. It's like Nigel Farage's rep dream, this book. And it turns out, and then he ends up killing himself because he's. But it's dated in a lot of ways, but it's really interesting to go back and look at it.
Absolutely. I mean, when I was putting the questions together, I made a little note saying how relevant it is to today. Paul, I cannot thank you enough for your time this evening, but if everyone can just show a bit of appreciation. Paul will be signing copies of his brother's book. If I could just please ask you to think about some of the fundraising things that we've got running at the moment, whether it's Back a Book or the Library Lovers.
Thank you very much.